Hey folks, thanks for coming over. Welcome back. Jorge Anito here. I'm glad to see you decide to stop by and spend some time with me. So today we're just going to be focusing very briefly. It's more of an introductory thing here. We're going to be talking about Christian apologetics. And for those of you who are not familiar with this terminology, it is not the art of apologizing, but rather comes from the Greek word apologia or apologeia, which means to give a defense. And so basically it's giving a defense of whatever position that you hold. Could be a variety of things, but in Christendom, we apply this to our faith and our Christian worldview. And so 1 Peter 3:15 says, "Sanctify Christ as Lord in your hearts. Always be ready to make a defense to anyone who asks you to give an account for the hope that is in you, and yet do this with gentleness and reverence." And so every believer, therefore, is called to defend their view, so we are all apologists in some sense or the other. And it is true that faith plays a huge part in Christianity, but it is not the blind faith that so many non-believers and even some believers tend to think it is. It is not blind faith. In fact, the Greek word used for faith in the Bible is the Greek word pistis, which means a solid assurance based on grounded reason. That is to say, I have faith in Christ, I have faith in God for good, logical reason. It makes sense philosophically, its logic is consistent, it's backed by empirical evidence, and obviously it's relevant personally. Okay, so one of the things that I see arise here recently, last few years actually, but it's just really gaining some traction, is what's referred to as Jesus mythicism. And so it basically holds that Jesus was not a historical character, that he's just another myth, a legend, just like all the other religious figures of antiquity. Figures such as Osiris, Horus, Tammuz, some of these gods that were worshipped, and they have these cults who followed them and practiced their teachings. The difference with Jesus, though, is that he was a true historical person in the truest sense. We know this from the historical record. And so I want this project to focus on the historicity of Jesus. And so I'm going to be releasing a series of short videos publishing evidences for the historicity of Jesus. And so you might be tempted to think, well, are you going to use the Bible to prove the Bible, or basically prove Jesus' existence from Christian writings or the sacred text? And the answer is, while that is very tempting, and that would suffice in the scholarly circles, the answer is no. We're going to use purely secular, hostile sources to construct the life and times of Jesus, who he was as a person, his work, his involvement with others, and this whole movement that arose from this one man. I think you'll find it really interesting, just all the outside sources that exist in support of Christ's historicity. So we have people like Flavius Josephus, Cornelius Tacitus, Pliny the Younger, Thales, Suetonius, Marabar Sapien, and much more, the Babylonian Talmud. And so in each video, we will be offering one of these evidences and talking about these documents and see what they have to say about Jesus. And not, aside from just documentation and early attestation, we're also going to look at the archaeological record as well and see what the earth and things inside the earth have to offer in support of the historicity of Christ. Guys, thanks for viewing this short introductory piece, and stay tuned in the days following because we're going to tackle these evidences one by one, concisely, briefly, but we want to be as thorough as possible with the limited time that we have. Especially our attention spans seem to be so short nowadays. I know that's true of me, and I think I could speak for some others on that too. But anyway, I'm excited to look into this material. I think you'll find it interesting. So we're going to once again show the historicity of Christ to be true, using purely sources outside the Bible, secular sources, and hostile sources nonetheless. So once again, thank you, and we'll see you here soon. God bless.